And then also Janelle McCann is back online. John, you're right back.
No worries. We're early. We have everyone on the phone now? Okay. Well, we can start. I'll check. Ms. McCann, are you with us?
Yes, Your Honor. Yes, sir.
Excellent. Welcome back. Good afternoon. Ms. Argenbright, are you with us?
Yes, Your Honor.
And Ms. Stoker, are you on the phone?
Yes, I am.
Excellent. Welcome. Welcome. This is the resumption of our dependency adjudication trial in JD 2022 00062 in the matter of Eva and Brody DuPont, minor children present with us in court this afternoon. Assistant Attorney General Ms. Troop, good afternoon.
Definitely.
Mr. Carbajal, current ongoing case specialist on the witness stand, is still under oath. Good afternoon, sir. Ms. DuPont, mother, is with us. Good afternoon.
Okay.
Mr. Brown, attorney for both children, is with us. Good afternoon, sir.
Thank you, Judge.
Ms. Miller is still with us. Good afternoon, Ms. Miller. Placement for Brody. Mr. and Mrs. are with us. Welcome back, folks. The maternal grandmother, Ms. Brown, is back with us. Welcome. And your sister, Ms. Andrus, is with us. Maternal great aunt. Welcome. And we have Ms. McCann, attorney for mother, on the phone, already verified that. Ms. Argenbright, attorney for father, verified that. And placement for Ava on the phone. Is there anyone else on the phone that hasn't been identified? Very well. The admonition was given this morning. I would just remind everyone that it still applies. And we found this morning that the Indian Child Welfare Act did not apply. Let me check my notes. Don't know that you had finished Ms. Troop?
I had finished direct examination.
Okay. Mr. Brown, Cross?
Yes, Judge, if I could just note for the record, I don't know if I did that this morning, that both Ava and Brody were advised of the right to be here at the trial today and have elected to not want to be here.
Excellent. No worries. I read the 7 rules of etiquette this morning on my cell phone. I'm not supposed to say no worries.
You're not? Why not?
No problems.
You say no problems, not no worries? Don't say
No worries, no problems.
What else can't we say?
I read why we're not supposed to put our elbows on the table.
Like this?
Right?
Why?
When someone asks you to pass the salt or the pepper, you pass both of them so they don't get separated. When somebody says thank you, you're not supposed to say no worries, no problems. It implies that there was a potential problem. You're supposed to say thank you or of course. Just killing time while Mr. Brown gets settled.
Oh, I'm ready.
Please, Mr. Brown.
Mr. Carbajal, since your assignment to this case, approximately how many times would you guesstimate that you met with Ms. DuPont?
Around 5 times.
And on any of those occasions, did you observe her to be, in your opinion, or your view, under the influence of any drugs?
No.
Thank you. That was my only question.
Thank you, Mr. Brown. Ms. Argenbright?
No questions, Your Honor.
Thank you. Making my notes. Bear with me one moment, please.
Me too.
Ms. McCann?
Yes, Your Honor. Okay, so that took care of one of my questions about how many times. Did you say that you've also observed Mother's home?
Can you repeat, please? Have you observed
Yes.
Mother's home? Oh, yes.
Okay, how many times have you done that?
Around 5 times.
Okay, so each time that you met with Mother, you met with her in her home.
Yes.
Okay. Now, has Mother to date for you ever dropped a UA or a hair follicle at all?
No.
Okay. And has she yet to attend a Taros first intake?
No.
She's never done that yet?
She's never done.
Okay. And does she still have to engage in the counseling?
Can you repeat that?
Does she still have to engage in counseling?
Yes.
Okay. And that's something that she has indicated that she is now willing to do, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Then thank you, and I have no more questions.
Thank you, Ms. McCann. Ms. Troop, redirect.
No redirect, Your Honor.
Thank you, Mr. Carbajal. You may step away. Thank you. Ms. Troop, any other witnesses?
Our last witness is Dr. Wolfram, Judge.
Sir, if you'd come forward, I'd ask Madam Clerk to kindly place you under oath, and then I'd invite you to make yourself comfortable.
I make my oath firm to tell the truth, and the truth during the proceedings that I'll be honest with you.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Sir, please. Ms. Troop, when you're ready, please.
Thank you, Your Honor. Please state your name for the record.
Gunther Wolfram,
And what town do you live in, Mr. Wolfram?
Pachuca City, Arizona, in Whetstone, vicinity of Whetstone.
Are you and your wife the placement for Brody?
We are.
What does your wife do?
She's a third grade teacher at Pachuca City Elementary.
What do you do for a living?
Currently, I'm acting out my being retired from the Army, going to school.
Going to school for what?
It's actually corrections and juvenile corrections, behavioral health, case management.
When DCF became involved in April of 2022, where was Brody living?
When DCS became involved in April 2022, he was living in he was with us often, but sometimes we didn't know. He was with his mom.
How long has that been going on?
Quite a while. They had one residence on Kelly Chase for quite some time, almost a year, I think, but they were being evicted from that.
So is that in Whetstone, Montgomery City?
Whetstone, yes, ma'am.
That's spelled S-E-I-S.
Yep.
So they were living, when you say they were living there, that's Brody and Ms. DuPont?
Mr. Point, that was actually so previous to roughly the April timeframe. It was all happening kind of at once, but they left, or Ava was still living there at this place on Kelly Chase with Lacey and Brody.
Okay.
At that time.
So let me just stop you right there, because this is all a little confusing.
Mm-hmm.
You heard Ms. Brown testify that when she came down to help, I don't remember if she testified to that or not. When Ms. Brown came down to help Lacey move, I don't remember whether or not she said that they were moving from the trailer behind Buddy's.
No, they were out of that trailer near Buddy's Bar at maybe the beginning of 2021. The end of 2020 was pretty much the end of that place for them.
And they moved to the house on Kaye Chase?
Yes, there was a kind of a period of flux there, but then they settled there for a time. That house on Kaye Chase.
And did the family move from that house on Kaye Chase?
When they moved out of that, that's when everything really did ultimately fall apart. They didn't have a steady place to go at all.
Remember what that time frame was?
I don't exactly, to tell you the truth. It was very close to the same time that Ava left with Sherry Brown.
Okay, and that you heard the testimony from Ms. Brown that was about President's Day of 2022.
Mm-hmm.
Is that correct?
Yes. Did I say 2021?
No, I don't think you said a date.
Okay.
Let's go a little farther backwards. How do you and your wife know Brody and Ava and Lacey DuPont?
We moved to the area in June of 2020, and our son Vincent, who's the same age as Brody and he were classmates, and they became fast friends like really quickly. Can my friend spend the night started to come up? So sure, absolutely. So we go over and we wanted to meet Lacey. We do that generally. We're not sending our kids anywhere or taking any kids unless we've met the parents and things like that. So we met the family, and at the time, they were living behind Buddy's Bar in the trailer, and Brody would just spend the night relatively often. Ava came and spent the night once or twice herself during that time period.
When did Brody start staying with you more often?
Pretty quickly, we realized that we needed to be a safe place for Brody and for Ava.
Why?
Because their eating habits weren't very good. They were walking the highways around Highway 90, Highway 82, crossing Highway 82 to get to the gas station, or walking up the Highway 90 to get to the Dollar General. At that point, I don't think the Dollar General was there, but the gas station was pretty much their only place.
Okay, so Buddy's Bar is at the intersection of Highway 90 and Highway
82. It's on Highway 82, though.
So directly across the street, if you cross Highway 82, is the gas station that's
It's a couple blocks down, yes, but yes.
And then across Highway 90 is the Dollar General?
Mm-hmm.
Was it safe for them to be crossing those highways?
No, not at all. We also realized that the kids were, their clothes were dirty a lot. Anytime they were over, it became, even for the children, it became habitual. They would come in, kind of, as soon as they got cleaned up, would get their old clothes. And we started basically just kind of rotating laundry and stuff like that for them whenever they came through.
Was Ms. DuPont working during this time frame?
When we first met them, she was at Buddy's Bar. She did work there. That relationship was falling apart. Her professional relationship there at Buddy's Bar, or the relationship with the owners of the bar. But she was working at Buddy's Bar when we met her in late 2020.
When did Brody start living with you and your wife during school week?
It was on and off, but pretty. I mean, relatively quickly. That place was barely weatherproof, so when it's cold, it's super cold. When it's hot, it's super hot. And the kids honestly wanted to play on their devices on the internet, So we had them quite a bit, but I couldn't tell you exactly.
What is the place? I'm sorry, that was cold.
The trailer behind Buddy's Bar.
Oh, okay, the trailer.
So at that point, really, they started to stay with us more and more, and it just became a normal thing to have them, half the days of the week, or maybe out of a month period, 10, 12 days out of a month.
Were you always able to get a hold of Lacey when you needed her?
No, it was very hard to get a hold of Lacey.
How did you attempt to get a hold of her?
We had phone numbers, which generally change a lot. So we would call. Brody specifically would get very upset and want to see her, like physically kind of hysterical. And a couple of times, we'd get in the car and we'd go try to find her, but we weren't going to allow Brody to go down a 200-yard driveway to a dark trail, to a dark house and figure it out for himself. So that was it. Phone calls and then driving Whetstone, basically, to see if we could get a hold of her.
Did you feel like to respond to phone calls?
No.
That was upsetting to Brody?
It was upsetting to Brody and to us. I mean, we have our own children as well. And, generally on Sunday nights, we try to wind everything down. All the sleepovers are over. You're going back to the house so everybody can get to kind of reset for the week. And, there's just many times where it was very late if we got a hold of her at all, or we just said, oh, it's all right. We'll just go to school from this bus stop. No big deal.
You keep them out on a Sunday night, even though that wasn't the plan because you couldn't get it.
At times, yeah. It was hard to get a hold of Lacey. It's always been hard.
Sure not to talk over each other.
Thank you.
Why was it important to have Brody at your house on school days?
I will say this, that we never made a decision to have Brody at our house. But we, again, from very early on, it's been almost 3 years now, we made a decision to be available. And it turned into a kind of an all-hours thing. But Brody's having trouble with reading and spelling and things like that. Chrissy got him squared away on reading. His grades jumped up. We did spelling words every week with Vincent and Brody, of course. And just kind of entered a natural, normal rhythm and, things like that. He'd bring us his report cards and stuff.
Do you feel like you and your wife were filling in as parents or extra parents for him?
Not intentionally, but we were definitely fulfilling the role, right? It's, kids are hurt or kids are sick or whatever the case, they just need food or whatever, a hug or two. We were there for all those things.
Did Lacey ever ask you to watch Brody or Brody and Eva while she worked?
Yeah.
What is the longest period that you had Brody with you and you weren't able to contact Lacey?
I couldn't actually be, specific. Didn't kind of keep an order of precedent of these events, but easily 3-4 day situations all the time. I can tell you that. So where we couldn't get a hold of her for 2-3 days, sometimes 4. And again, it would boil down to Brody kind of hysterically trying to find his mom.
Were there ever times when Lacey said she was going to pick Brody up and then did not show up?
Often.
What were your concerns, if any, about Brody's eating habits?
Brody basically, it seemed that, for at least a couple years before we got to him, he was basically subsisting off of Dr. Pepper and Cheez-Its for the most part. And, to this day, he will literally choose chips over any other kind of food. He'll just eat chips, if you let him. He's always got bags under his eyes. So we've always given him multivitamins and stuff like that. He's also got a lot of, as far as the pediatrician goes, he would look very ragged. Okay, he would look ragged all the time, exhausted. After a couple of days, he'd sleep and eat and play and stuff, and he'd look fresh again. But he really looked bad often, and it was kind of an emotional drain, or probably a physical one as well. But he didn't go to bed. There's not really any bedtime for him and things like that until he got to our house, where you got to take a shower because you smell, and you got to go to sleep because it's time. And so we just dealt with those issues from the very beginning.
Do you remember when Ava went to live with Miss Brown?
Yes.
Where was Ava living for the week or so before she went to live with Miss Brown?
They stayed with us for a while. I don't think I saw her the day everybody took off. They went back and got things together for a day or two or something like that. But there was a period that they had been staying with us because there was, the place had power and didn't have power, and then there's no food, so they'd just come over.
So were there periods when the electricity was cut off for failure to pay the bill?
Yes. We, over those, the past 3 years, we've had interactions where the kids would protect our mom, protect their situation, and then, Brody might say something about there not being power, and they would punch him in the arm, and call him snitch, So those things happened. It was always guarded and reserved, but it doesn't take, it comes out. The kids are just talking.
Did Lacey ever talk to you about paying an electric bill for her?
She did. She called one time.
So do we have a time frame?
Yes, it was at the end of, let me see, I guess it would be the beginning of 21. No, 22. No, it was this year, 21. The beginning of 2021. She called and asked,
Ask what?
bless you, if we could pay the phone bill or the electricity bill.
And how much did she tell you the bill was?
I don't exactly remember. It wasn't accurate. When I called, I paid $200 something, and it turned out to be an overdue amount. I didn't know that until maybe a couple of days later, but she had to still figure out how to get the current month's bill paid to get it turned back on at that particular time.
How do you know that sometimes the water has been turned off for failure to pay a water bill?
The kids are just unclean physically, not just their clothing. But you smell different after you've been unclean for days and days and days without climate controlled stuff, space.
Did Ava ever ask to do laundry at your home?
Yes, all the time.
Did Lacey ever give the children any money or give you money to provide for the children when they were staying at your home?
No.
Did you ever ask her for money?
Oh, no. And we wanted to help Lacey, too. We wanted to be able to provide a safe place for the kids. And then, if she's going to get some work, we wanted her to be able to do that, whatever that looked like. And honestly, the kids are better off at our house anyway, so it was no big deal.
Did Ava ever ask for any help for things that she needed that she was not having provided for her by her mother?
Yes, when her, and we're unclear as if her period started then, but she had gone to school. She didn't have any feminine products, which happens, to hurdle a lot of little girls have to deal with. But she had gone to one of the administrators at school, and that person had squared her away. But by the time she got home, she needed more. So Christy and our friend Sandra went and took her and got feminine products, and then taught her how to use them, along with underwear and brassieres and things like that. As she, around 11, she started needing all these things pretty badly. And at that point, Ava was so fine, like super ready to come over and take showers and do whatever if she needed to.
Did your wife routinely provide feminine products for Ava?
Mm-hmm.
That is the yes or no.
Oh, yes, I'm sorry.
And did Ava ask for bras and underwear?
Yes, she came up directly and asked for underwear. She didn't have any, and bras as well. She had one of Lacey's friend's bras on, and that was in rough shape apparently, but it didn't fit, so she needed one.
Did Ava ever get sick while she was staying at your home?
Yeah, she was dropped off with a pretty bad fever that just got worse, and we couldn't get a hold of Lacey for a couple of days. We finally got a hold of her and met her on one of the neighborhood streets. It wasn't even at her house. And we really did have a realistic fear that if we took these kids to the hospital without their mom, they'd be taken. You know, the state would get involved immediately, and so we were very hesitant to do that. And we really did everything we could to always try to get a hold of you, Lacey, to make sure that didn't happen arbitrarily. There was another time when Ava came over and she had, both these kids are very good at kind of denying access to actually giving them a good look-see, you know, are you okay kind of thing. They'll hide their eyes and, you know, look around and stuff. But Ava had a sore on her forehead, and it was pretty bad. And she's a little teen, so she was preteen, you know, she was picking her face. But it became a staph infection, and it swelled up, and her eyes were shut in a couple hours. And then she started running fever. And we tried really, really hard to get a hold of Lacey. We finally did, but it took entirely too long. It was unsafe. It was a dangerous medical situation. And we finally got a hold of Lacey. Christy brought her to the emergency room. Lacey and Ava, sorry. Brought them to the emergency room. Eventually, Lacey said she was going to have a friend come and give them a ride home, which is great. So Christy left them there, and then the next day, Christy took them and to go get the prescription and pay for it, everything else, which is fine.
Did Lacey ask Christy to pay for the prescription?
Yes, she did tell her that she didn't have the money and asked her to do it, and of course we were there for that. You know.
Was there a time when Ava was sick and Lacey called and said the electricity was off at her home?
Lacey, Ava was sick. Yeah, and then she came over. I think that was the time where we ultimately had to find her again because Ava needed the hospital. At that point, I mean, her fever was over 103. Finally got a hold of her late at night in the dark and handed the kids off, you know, in the car on the side street.
Have you ever seen Lacey under the influence of drugs?
Yes.
Do you remember an incident on Brody's birthday on December 21st of 2021?
Yes.
Tell us about that and about mother's apparent drug use on that day.
And I've never seen Lacey take drugs or imbibe them. That's fair to say. But Brody was really excited because he hadn't had a birthday party that he remembered. Ever. Well, and he had back when he was 5 and below. They had great family birthday parties all the time. But he was very excited.
Wait, so he didn't remember any birthday parties after the family moved from the Mesa area to where?
In his memory, he doesn't actually have memories of it. I know that they happened, but yeah, he does not have a recollection of a birthday. So he was very excited about this one. Wanted to make sure we were there. And of course, we're going to be there for that. But we go over, and it started getting later and later, and it was dark. I think we went over there at 7:30 or something. There was no food or anything. Lacey's friends were going to bring some cake. So they did end up bringing a cake. There's no candles or plasticware. We were in their shed on the side of the house, which was, there's just tools and implements all over the place and projects of one, from years ago, just sitting around kind of thing. And so we were all in the garage, and really Lacey was just, she had a hard time thinking about anything. Well, my friends are coming, and, just thank you guys for being here and stuff like that. But we just stood there for almost 2 hours. Her friend showed up.
And you said no implements. Does that mean no plates, no forks?
Right. No plates, no forks, just cake. And then they also had, I think it might have been Taco Bell. They got a big bag of soft tacos. And they came and started offering some soft tacos around. But by this point, it was just crazy. Brody had been standing there just waiting for his birthday party. It was a really crazy situation, wild mess. We ended up just sitting there and eating cake. I think we may have actually gone back and gotten some plates and some forks from our house and brought them back over there, which again is no big deal, but it was so disjointed, and it lasted for 2 hours before the cake even got there, where there was just no coherent thought or plan or anything, or discussion with Brody outside of my friends are coming, with your stuff. And I know she's had hard times, but it's very clear, as an adult, when you're dealing with other adults and things, and you can really tell when someone is literally not there. They're not participating. They're actually mentally, physically, spiritually not there. And then she bounced in and out of reality kind of thing to talk to us about the fact that food was still coming, and things like that. There was another family there as well. They had a group of kids, and that family was equally as weirded out. And we had the discussion numerous times over those couple hours and said, well, we're just going to stay for Brody. Doesn't matter how weird it is, we'll stay the course. So that was one time at his birthday party.
How about Father's Day 2022?
On Father's Day 2022, we're having get our day together. Just hanging out around the house, and
Plan on having.
You guys are talking over each other.
Go ahead.
So Lacey called and asked if Brody could come over, and I said sure. I think I actually answered the phone that day. I said, yep, sure thing. Bring him over, and so he came over. He was in a weird mood, but it's Father's Day. I know he talks about his dad, talks about his mom all the time. I know he misses them like crazy. And his dad is a special place, obviously, right? Even though he doesn't deserve it. But it's Father's Day. He was going to have a bad day, no matter how this went. So I didn't really bug him too much. Neither did Christy. We just fed him and got him playing with the kids and things like that. We brought him home 2 or 3 days later, getting hold of Lacey and getting him put back to her so we could get ready for the next week and things like this. And Lacey told me herself that she had taken Brody to his dad's house. His dad has beaten her up so many times in front of the kids, it's ridiculous. I was really upset that she brought him to his dad's house in the first place. That's not a safe decision. It's not a smart or reasonable decision. But when Brody was there, and he was not there for very long, Michael DuPont beat his girlfriend unconscious in front of Brody in a single white trailer in the same room. And then, because that went badly, Lacey brought him to our house without even telling us what had happened. What Brody had seen, a violent physical attack right in front of him, and his dad is doing it again, it's like, that's rough. And those instances really make me question the drug use as well, because there's just no way any normal person would do that. It's just not a thing. It's not a thing. And if your kid wants to see his dad, you have to tell your kid, no, I'm sorry. Dad's a dangerous person. So that was pretty upsetting, and another real clear indicator. And the way that she dropped them off, she called and dropped them off, it was not an issue. I don't know.
How did you find out that Brody was present when his father beat up his father's crime?
Brody told us. Well, Lacey told me, and then Brody told me, because I asked Brody everything. We talk about it just like with our own kids. We'll have open conversations about whatever.
Over the past 3 years, do you have an estimate of how many times you've seen Lacey when she was under the influence of drugs?
I would say that for the most part, Lacey is under the influence, coming or going or in the middle of it. And numerous examples of just being physically dirty, really dirty, and through in hair and everything. Her and Brody walked up through the desert to our back door one evening, and Lacey was absolutely high as a kite. And she told a story about how Michael had gotten onto fentanyl. He's wanted for, he's under indictment for fentanyl trafficking. He had brought home some pills one day when they lived in Mesa. They started taking them, boom, the rest is history. And that same evening, with just a crazy rapid fire speech and all, talking about all this other stuff, her eyes were barely open, mumbling, disoriented, super erratic in her movements, very sharp and twitchy physical movements that we've talked about today, and just clearly under the influence. And and so dirty, it's impossible to say that, and the other thing about her disheveled and dirty nature, she doesn't understand how she presents. That she looks like a dirty oil filter, just completely dirty and grimy. She just doesn't compute that that's unacceptable and that people are alarmed by that. And you see those interactions happen all the time.
Thank you. That's all I have, Your Honor.
Thank you, Mr. Brown. Cross?
You're able to distinguish Lacey sober versus Lacey under the influence. You've seen both.
Yes?
Yes. Sorry. Yes, sir.
And I was going to ask, when you describe the kids wandering around Highway 92, do you know what the speed limit is on Highway 92 at that location?
It's 55 and 65 miles an hour. It transitions to 65 right there, basically in front of our block, if you will. At one point, Brody was picked up by the sheriff's department for doing that. Somebody had called the police for him walking on the highway. They picked him up. He ended up getting home and then immediately ran to our house and came crying to Christy about that.
On some of the occasions, you mentioned that Brody and Ava have been at your home on many occasions. Are those planned events where the children are Lacey contacts you and there's like a plan in advance for this to happen, or is it sort of like out of the blue?
All of the above. Our son Vincent and Brody, they do their work and make sure that they've, before he lived with us, that they were on the same page. So we would, did Brody come over on Friday? Sure, that's fine. And sometimes he would just get dropped off, and that's fine too.
And you mentioned that there was an occasion where you observed the kids talking to each other and one saying to the other, in essence, don't rat out on mom. Is that something that you've experienced on more than one occasion, the kids trying to protect mom?
The kids trying to protect mom, and then an aversion to saying that that there's something really wrong. The kids are trying to protect her all the time, and then protect their situation because it protects their mom.
Do you know whether that is based upon the kids' fear that they might be removed from mom or not be able to be with mom?
Yeah. That's scary for them. Ava, I think, and it's also the coaching and the lifestyle of how things are. It's not good. And were they to ever tell anybody about their daily situation or weekly situation, it would be bad, and they know it.
And you mentioned coaching. Do you believe that mother attempts to manipulate the children into believing that there's nothing wrong with her and that what's going on right now is DCS's fault?
Yeah, 100%.
Speculation?
Do you know this, or you just...
Yes, Judge, I know it.
How do you know
What would be the basis for your forming that view?
Overruled.
I can give you a quick example from the day when Mr. Carbonell was asked, "Who has Lacey ever taken any personal responsibility?" And he said no, and then he said Lacey blames DCS and Gunther Wolfram. So I'm just a guy that lives in Whetstone, and we've always, we've left our home open to Brody and Ava at any opportunity. It's been open to Lacey, but she wouldn't, she's not interested in following rules or whatever. But the idea is that she will tell the kids, and has during this process, that we're trying to steal them. Brody specifically, she's told them that we're trying to steal him, that we're lying to him. Everybody's lying about her, and we're not good. We're trying to kidnap him and adopt him. And he said that to our son. He said it to Christy, and Christy and Brody have had many long nights where they've had to break it down.
Has that ever been your desire to take Brody away from mom?
No, never. But it's to the point where Lacey will say, "You don't have cavities. You don't have that many cavities." Well, I took him to the dentist. He had 2 root canals. He's going to lose one of those adult molars, and he's got 6 other cavities. He's got a devastated face. And even with the cavities, during their family meeting, it's like, "You don't have that. It's not that bad. It's not that bad." And then he gets home and tells Christy, "I don't have all those. It's not that bad. I don't have cavities." And it's a perpetual thing, right? Gunther and Christy are going to steal you. You don't even have cavities. Yes, as a matter of fact.
Have you also, at the beginning of this case, been involved in attempting to supervise some of the virtual visits with mom and Brody, or telephone calls?
No, I have not. They haven't had any virtual visits, and if they did, I'm very clear as to the idea that Julio would have to manage that. We wouldn't be able to do that.
Do you recall there being one visit where you thought mom was under the influence?
I was told after the visit on
Never
the
mind.
6th.
Never mind.
Oh, okay. Well, Brody told us to.
Okay. I have nothing further.
Thank you. Ms. Argenbright, Cross?
No, Your Honor, thank you.
Yes, no problem. Ms. McCann, Cross?
Yes, Your Honor, please. So first of all, Mr. Wolfram, you have no intent right now to adopt Brody, right?
The simple answer is absolutely not. We do not want to adopt Brody. If he needed it, we would be there for him. But no, we're not interested in. We think that he should be with his family.
Okay. So you would support, if Mother was to do the services and do what she needed to do, you would support Brody to return to his mother?
Yeah, I mean, and I mean that's the way. Of course. I mean, there's a lot of work that needs to be done. If I'm being honest, I can't see that day right now. I can't see that day happening today. But yeah, absolutely.
And you're not in some sort of plan with DCS to try to take the kids away from the mother, right?
No, we're not even in the foster system. We're literally, my youngest son is Brody's best friend. That's
Okay.
our function.
Nothing further, Your Honor.
Thank you. Ms. Troop, redirect?
Yes. What did Brody tell you about his mother being under the influence of drugs after the January 6, 2023 visit?
I had stepped out to talk to, I think her name is Misty. Misty was telling me about it. Well, he got in the car with Christy, and I'm sorry, I misspoke. He didn't actually say that she was on drugs, but he was crying. He was upset. He said, you know, he knew that something was up with his mom. Doesn't really know what. He doesn't normally get back in the car and start crying, though. And he was very upset. He also said that, and then he said, my mom doesn't have that job anymore. And generally when he gets in the car, his first things are, she still hasn't taken a drug test and she doesn't have a job yet. He was excited at the meeting before because she had gotten a job at a hotel in Tombstone, or a cabin company that rents cabins to clean them. But they didn't have any patrons, so there's nothing to clean. So Brody was really upset about that as well because he knows. He asks Lacey every time, have you taken a drug test? You have a job? And he's getting, you know, goose eggs when he asks. You know, he's not getting positive answers, and he knows it, and he's really upset about it because he knows that has to happen.
For him to go home.
Right.
That's all I had, Your Honor.
Thank you, Mr. Wolfram. You may step down, sir. No other witnesses, Ms. Troop?
No, Your Honor, we rest.
Mr. Brown, any witnesses?
No, Judge.
Ms. Argenbright, no witnesses, right?
No, Your Honor.
And Ms. McCann, any witnesses?
Your Honor, I did speak with my client about testifying and why I had earlier advised her not to, and did ask her if she was under the influence of anything, because I know that would be a question somebody is going to ask, and I would ask. She's indicating not, and she's indicating that her desire is to testify. So I can put her on and see what we do.
Ms. DuPont, would you stand and raise your right hand, please? I'd like you to sit over there. Go ahead, Ms. McCann.
Thank you, Your Honor. Lacey, could you state your name for the record?
Lacey Marie DuPont.
Okay, and are you the mother of Brody and Ava DuPont?
I am.
Okay, and Kathy, I think if I'm saying it right, Kathy Brown is your mother? Or Cindy Brown? Sherry Brown.
Cheryl Brown, yeah.
Cheryl Brown is your mother, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And is your sister is Jenny Stoker?
Jamie Stoker.
Jamie. So it's Jamie, Jamie.
Jayme.
Okay, all right. So, first of all, let me ask you, are you currently under the influence of alcohol or drugs?
No, I'm not.
Okay, and you realize that you're under oath, so that everything you're saying is taken under oath and penalty of perjury, right?
Yes, I'm aware.
Okay. So, when was the last time that you took any type of drug?
It would be right after we moved out here, and I can't remember if it was 2017 or 18, in October.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure it was 2018.
Have you in the past had a problem with substances?
Yes, and my husband and I did do fentanyl, and that's why we moved out here.
Moved out here for why?
That's something that's hard to get out of unless you remove yourself from everything you know and places that you go and get your drugs from. So we were not wanting to find ourselves in a situation like this.
Okay. So you're married to David DuPont, right?
Michael DuPont.
Michael DuPont.
I don't want to.
Okay, you guys are still married?
Yes, unfortunately we are.
Okay. And originally, where did you live?
I was born in Mesa, Phoenix, Mesa area until I moved out here.
Okay. So the children were both born in Mesa, Phoenix, somewhere there?
Yes.
Okay. And so how old were they when you guys moved out here to Sierra Vista?
We moved out to Elgin, where my in-laws, Michael's parents live, and Ava in 2018, so she would have been 8.
Okay.
8, and then Brody was 6 and almost 7.
Okay, so Ava's a year older than Brody?
Yes.
Okay, and what are their current ages?
Brody just turned 11 on the 21st of December, and Ava is 12.
Okay. So you moved out to Elgin, and then at some point moved over to Whetstone?
Yes, we just stayed there we were staying there until the end of the school year, and then we moved out. But I had gotten a job at Buddy's Bar, so we moved behind there.
Okay. And so what were you doing at Buddy's Bar?
I was a bartender.
Okay. And at some point, did you also become involved with alcohol?
No, I'm not interested in drinking. I may have had a couple of drinks in a few years, but it's not.
Okay. So alcohol is not your drug of choice?
No.
Fentanyl was your drug of choice at one time?
Well, never out here. It ruined our lives first time, I guess.
Okay. So
not meaning that that's ruining it now. I'm just saying my kids are not with me, so.
Yeah. Okay. So your last time of taking any type of a substance was sometime 2018.
Yeah, and that was weed out here. I haven't done we didn't do anything. Well, I guess I can't speak for Michael because I don't know, but for myself, weed for like the first 2 months that I was out here.
Okay. So did at some point you and Michael break up?
Yes.
When did that happen?
I know it was he had been just the effects of opiates it changed me. I know it'll change anybody, but my husband, it took a very dark, very bad effect on him, trying to get past the mental part, and he became physically abusive.
Okay, let me guide you to that, all right?
Okay, sorry.
First of all, When did when did you break up?
I kicked him out, or I had him move out. Trying to think of the year. I think it was 2000 or 2019. It was Labor Day. It would be what I couldn't get a copy of the order of protection, but it was the same year an order of protection was done as well against him.
Okay, so roughly Labor Day of 2019.
I believe so. Yes.
Okay. Now you referenced that things took a dark turn. Was there domestic violence in your relationship?
Yes.
Okay. So by the time you moved to Buddy's Bar, or you took the job at Buddy's Bar, were you guys still together or separated at this time?
We moved in together, and then he was needed to move out when that happened.
How long did you have the job at Buddy's?
I believe I was there for about three years.
Okay. So 2019, 20 to 21, about, right?
Right.
And did you have the house there at Buddy's?
A trailer, single-wide trailer that was behind the bar.
Okay. And did this place have air conditioning?
It has a swamp system, I think they call it.
Okay. Did you always have utilities in it?
Yes, I did.
How about sewage and plumbing?
It wasn't paid for. It was included in the rent because it's a septic system. So,
Okay. In other words, there was a place for the kids when you lived with the trailer in near Buddy's Bar. There was a place for the kids to take a bath, right?
Yes.
There was food in the house.
Mhm.
There was place for them to sleep.
Yes.
They had clothes.
Yes.
They went to school.
Yes. Well,
And
COVID happened, so they had to do online if it worked.
Okay, and so they did online schooling?
Once COVID, when lockdowns happened.
Okay. At some point, did you lose the job at Buddy's Bar?
Yes, it was. I'm trying to think of the exact month, but it was in March. It was during COVID, right after lockdowns had become. So it was into the second year, I think so. 2020, 21, I think maybe.
Okay. So where did you go from there?
I moved into the house on Calle 6 in Whetstone.
Okay. And how long did you stay at Calle 6?
It was about just around a year. I didn't get evicted, though. I'm just to throw that up. But it was about just over a year. I think it was 13 months.
Why did you have to leave the house on Calle 6?
My friends owned the home, and they were another family member of theirs that is living there. They had wanted to find something that was a rent to own, so that was a better option for my friends.
Okay. So you had to move in February?
Yes. Well, yes, they were moving in March 1st.
Okay. And your mother came down to help you move and pick up Eva, right?
That wasn't the plan when she came out. It was basically just help where she could, because I was doing it all alone. So, anyways, but I don't know how much you want me to say, but that wasn't the intention to take Ava with her when she came out. It just turned into that.
All right. Well, we'll get to that later. But during the year that you lived on Calle 6, did you always have utilities in your home?
There were a couple of times that the electric was shut off, and the water, I think, was shut off once, but that was very quick to get turned back on. It was in the owner's name still. All the utilities were. And so that just happened to be a lapse, and one of the husbands forgot to email the amount over or something like that. But the electric, unfortunately, it shut off a couple of times, and I did ask Comfort to help me out. So thank you again.
And that's when you asked Mr. Wolfram to help you provide the utility money?
Yes.
Okay. What was your job during this time? You left Buddy's Bar. Now, what's your job in this year that you lived on Cayenne?
I just did some random jobs because due to COVID, it was not. There's not much there weren't that many jobs being offered, unfortunately. But I did do some random jobs, landscaping, and I have a friend that owns a paint company and some fix and flips that she was working on. So it was very sporadic, and then I did have a friend of mine that moved in for a short period of time, and he paid the utility bills because that's all that was required to pay.
So do you have a significant other or someone, a roommate, someone?
I have currently have a roommate, yeah.
Okay, and we'll get to that in a little bit. Now you
Okay.
said that you've heard that Mr. Wolfram testified that there's been times when the kids came over, they appeared to be dirty, they appeared not to have food to eat, that Eva was sick on a couple occasions. To your knowledge, did any of that happen?
I mean, as far as food goes, I mean, the last month that we were at in the home in Cayenne, because I was needing to move out. The electric was off, and I didn't really keep much other than the cabinet food. But unfortunately, kids are always wanting to eat, chips and yummy stuff, and not like actually make something. So we always had food, always. But that last month, we probably didn't have anything in the fridge because the electric wasn't always on.
Have the Wolframs ever brought to your attention, like Eva having a fever, needing to go to the hospital or things like that?
Yes, that was with her staph infection, and it started on her chin, not her forehead. Just, not that matters, but it did go up to her forehead, and I did take her to the hospital. I did ask if they'd give us a ride, and they did. Both of you were there and you dropped us off. So they've done a lot to help me out, for sure.
Okay. So after you move when you're getting ready to move from Cayenne States and Grandma comes up to help you move, how did the plan develop for her to take Eva?
Basically, Ava was, she just needed something different because of everything that we had gone through and not having their dad in their lives anymore. And she had started to kind of act out a little bit, and she was suspended. She got suspended that day, which is really crazy because she's a straight A student, and she just needed something different. So anyways, she was suspended anyway, so I needed to move quickly, and she did take Ava to go for the long weekend. Freddie didn't want to go. I had asked if they could stay at the Wolframs already, but then Ava, got suspended. So anyways, that was why Ava went. And then while she was there for that, right when she got to me, so pretty much that first day, she had called me and asked if she would be able to stay, and I just made sure that's what she would want, and if that would make her happy. So she just needed something different.
Were you aware that they couldn't get Ava in school for about a month or so?
We did talk a few times, multiple times, and the only thing I was worried about, and I talked to the school a few times. What? I'm sorry.
That's not the question.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. Can you re-ask it and I'll...
Were you aware that Ava could not get enrolled in school for the first month she was with your mother?
Yes, I was aware.
Did eventually you give them the permission or sign the papers or whatever you needed to do to get her into school?
No, because I wanted a power of attorney, and I wrote my own out but they were having trouble getting it authorized to put through without it being their version. So, that was the holdup on the paperwork.
Okay. Was your mother ultimately able to get Ava enrolled in school without your express written permission or whatever?
Yes.
Okay. Now, at some point, did Ava move to her Aunt Jamie?
Yes.
Okay. And were you in agreement with that?
Yes, I talked to Ava, and she wanted that, so I was fine with it.
At this point, did you give either Grandma or Aunt Jamie some sort of legal authority, guardianship, power of attorney, anything so that they could get Eva medical care?
I didn't have the power of attorney signed, since we didn't need it for the school, and so no, there wasn't anything in writing.
Okay. At some point, did Aunt Jamie make you aware that Eva had a problem, a sore in her mouth, and she needed to go to the dentist?
That was my mom that had talked to me about it.
Okay. And eventually, who got Eva to go to the dentist?
That was about the time the custody was taken by the state, right? Yeah.
Okay. Now, what is the insurance plan for Brody? Are Brody and Ava on Access?
It's whatever the state signed them up, I think, for.
Okay,
If you don't know the answer, that is the answer. You
Okay,
don't look for the answers from anybody else.
Oh, okay, sorry. I'm not aware. I'm not sure.
Okay. When the children were with you, did you have them on any type of insurance plan?
Yes.
What was it on?
Access.
Okay. And at any point, did you give Grandma or Aunt Jamie, did you give them the access card for Ava so she could get care?
No, I didn't have the card because of moving the twice that I had to move in a short period of time. I was unable to get the card. I'm not sure where they sent it.
Okay. So now at the same time as Ava goes over and starts to live with Grandma, did Brody then also go and stay permanently or part-time with the Wolfram?
Yes, yes.
Okay. And did you ever give, I think it's Gunter and Cindy, did you ever give them any type of legal documentation or anything for Brody?
No, we didn't talk about anything like that at all.
Okay. Did you ever give them like his access card or anything to get him medical care if he needed it?
I didn't have the cards for the three of us, so no, I didn't give them the card.
Okay. Now, when do you first remember getting a call or getting any contact from DCS?
April 1st, because April Fool's. I thought it was a joke, but it wasn't.
Well, did Samantha Miller contact you?
Yes, she did.
Did she ask to make any requests of you?
Just that we meet, and at that time she would be asking me to do a drug screen, and I had agreed to both.
Okay. Did you ever do the drug screen that she wanted?